Toyota holds over 1,000 patents for solid-state batteries. They've been working on this behind closed doors since 2012, promising a battery that charges in 10 minutes and goes 745 miles. Honestly, I've heard this promise so many times I almost scrolled past it. But here we are in 2026, and the EV landscape is shifting faster than most people expected. Three major manufacturers announced solid-state production timelines in the last 8 months alone. If you've ever sat at a broken public charger for 45 minutes on a road trip, you know exactly why a 10-minute charge matters. Toyota and their partner Idemitsu Kosan are finally breaking ground on a massive pilot plant. I dug into their actual manufacturing roadmap to see if their 2027 launch is reality or just more corporate fiction. Let's start with the problem holding current electric cars back. Inside the lithium-ion battery powering today's EVs is a liquid electrolyte. It moves energy back and forth between the anode and the cathode. But this liquid is heavy, highly sensitive to extreme temperatures, and inherently flammable. Think of a standard battery like a jar of gasoline with a lid on it. Controlled, useful, but inherently dangerous if the seal breaks. A solid-state battery replaces that volatile liquid with a solid ceramic or glass electrolyte. It's more like a block of wax. The energy is locked inside a stable structure. No sloshing, no spillage, no sudden combustion. And you can pack vastly more energy into a much smaller space. The numbers Toyota is claiming are massive. They're aiming for an energy density of roughly 450 to 500 watt-hours per kilogram. That translates to about 745 miles, or 1,200 kilometers, of driving range, though that figure likely references Japan's WLTC test cycle, meaning real-world range would land 15 to 25% lower. Still enormous. And because the solid materials handle heat better, they claim a 10 to 80% charge in just 10 minutes. Here's the part nobody's advertising. Building one perfect solid-state cell in a controlled laboratory is just science. It's impressive, but it's isolated. Building millions of them cheaply and consistently, then putting them inside a vibrating metal box that drives through freezing rain and blistering heat, that's manufacturing. And that massive gap between lab science and factory manufacturing is exactly where the entire industry, including Toyota, has repeatedly stumbled. So is Toyota's 2027 timeline actually realistic? Think of it like cooking. Baking one perfect soufflé in your home kitchen is a great achievement. Now try baking 10,000 perfect soufflés an hour, every single hour, in a massive industrial kitchen without a single one collapsing. That's the leap from prototype to mass production. Right now, Toyota and Idemitsu Kosan are building a large-scale pilot plant for solid electrolytes. This facility is slated to be finished in late 2027. They expect to produce a few hundred metric tons of advanced materials initially. In global automotive terms, that's only enough to power a few tens of thousands of vehicles. Compare this to QuantumScape, the American startup backed by Volkswagen. QuantumScape has hit pilot production targets and shipped B-sample cells to their primary partner, PowerCo. But they're still fighting the slow, painful battle of scaling up. Defect rates in solid-state manufacturing are notoriously difficult to control because even a microscopic imperfection in the solid separator can ruin the cell. And that brings us to the uncomfortable truth about Toyota's upcoming launch. Even if they hit their 2027 target perfectly, you won't be buying a solid-state Corolla. This early production volume is going straight into ultra-premium Lexus models. You will be paying top dollar to be Toyota's early adopter, testing their soufflé. Has this production timeline been independently verified? Not yet. And that leaves a massive question mark over their mainstream viability. If Toyota were operating in a vacuum, their slow and steady approach would be fine. But Samsung SDI is moving faster than most people expected and might actually beat them to market. Samsung has already sent solid-state samples to automakers. They're targeting an 800 to 1,000 kilometer range, about 500 to 620 miles, and they're also sticking to a 2027 mass production timeline. To understand why Samsung is so dangerous here, look at their pedigree. Think of Toyota as a master mechanic building a bespoke engine. Samsung is a consumer electronics giant that has spent decades miniaturizing technology and mass-producing screens, chips, and batteries by the billions. They know how to scale complex chemical manufacturing. Samsung is using a silver carbon composite anode layer to suppress dendrites, microscopic metallic spikes that can form inside the battery and destroy it from within. As of early 2026, Samsung samples have already received positive feedback from automotive clients. Toyota isn't just racing the clock. They're racing a competitor with a proven track record of getting advanced electronics out of the lab and into consumer hands. But here's the caveat. While Samsung boasts a 40% higher energy density than current prismatic cells, they haven't solved the pricing equation either. These batteries require entirely new assembly lines, specialized dry rooms with zero humidity, and expensive raw materials. Samsung is targeting the premium EV sector first, just like Toyota. The real question is whether either giant can drive costs down fast enough to matter to the average driver. We can't talk about the future of EV batteries without talking about the single biggest player in the global battery market, CATL. While Toyota and Samsung have been meticulously perfecting their pure solid-state cells, CATL has been quietly flooding the market with semi-solid-state batteries. CATL currently controls over 36% of global battery market share. Instead of waiting for the perfect solid-state breakthrough, they focused on semi-solid technology, a hybrid approach that mixes a small amount of liquid gel with solid materials. A pragmatic compromise that lets them use existing massive manufacturing lines rather than spending billions to build entirely new factories from scratch. If Toyota is an architect drafting the perfect blueprint, CATL is a contractor who already built the neighborhood. It might not be the dream house, but people are already living in it. By committing fully to solid state, Toyota has forced themselves to invent both the battery and the machines that build the battery, an astronomical financial gamble. If they pull it off, they'll put serious pressure on every existing chemistry on the market. But if Toyota faces just one more multi-year delay, CATL's semi-solid batteries and their wildly cheap lithium iron phosphate packs will just keep getting more efficient and more deeply entrenched in supply chains. To be straight with you, CATL's dominance is the biggest threat to Toyota's strategy. Automakers are already signing long-term contracts for semi-solid batteries right now. Toyota is asking the market to wait for a miracle. If that miracle arrives late or costs twice as much as CATL's compromise, automakers might just decide that good enough is better than perfect. Let's step back and look at the full picture. What's proven? Solid-state chemistry fundamentally works. Toyota and Idemitsu Kosan are pouring real concrete for a real pilot plant right now. Samsung SDI is shipping real samples to real automakers. This isn't vaporware on a spreadsheet anymore. What's claimed? The idea that solid-state batteries will completely rewrite the mainstream EV market by 2028 is a massive stretch. The manufacturing hurdles, maintaining high-pressure environments, keeping defect rates near zero, driving costs down, are brutal. And even if the battery is ready, the road isn't. To charge that fast, you need 400 to 600 kilowatt chargers. Most public stations today max out at 150 to 350 kilowatts. Think of filling a swimming pool. A standard charger is a garden hose. A 10-minute charge needs a fire hydrant. Toyota is banking on an external ecosystem that barely exists yet. The battery is only half the equation. Here's my honest take. I think Toyota will hit their 2027 target, but on a technicality. They'll release a wildly expensive, low-volume Lexus that charges in 10 minutes, just to secure bragging rights. Mainstream affordable solid-state Toyotas won't hit driveways until 2030 at the earliest. But those 1,000 patents might finally mean something. Not because one perfect car will change the world, but because when a giant commits billions, it forces every competitor to accelerate. And that's how real change happens. Not with one breakthrough, but with a race that nobody can afford to lose. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe so I can keep bringing you the real numbers behind the headlines. Would you pay a premium for a 10-minute charge? Tell me below. See you soon.